going on because I'm going to connect the live stream once it is. What's
Thank
going
you guys
on
for
here?
being so on time too. Wow.
Oh, of course.
Wonderful.
Oh, there we are. Okay, so I think we are live on YouTube and complete post details. Okay. We're going to get started very, very soon. You can keep chatting amongst yourselves.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. We're just not like going to start the episode for one more minute. Well,
no, good.
While I figure this
Is
out.
the video of this going somewhere?
Yeah, so I'm live streaming this on YouTube and Facebook.
I kind of want to move that blanket.
Should have told you guys that. I hope that's okay.
I don't care. I love that my vacuum's in the background and that I just came from working out.
Shut up. You're in like a gorgeous Pinterest corner covered in like you look like you're in an anthropology. Shut up.
And look at my nails.
Your background is the most lit.
Shut up.
Beautiful.
Those are beautiful.
Although I can't tell what's happening in like that odd nail out, like the white one.
Oh, they're all flames. They're all flames.
Oh, flames. Cool.
Flames.
Oh, those are your actual
the side
nails?
of my head, flames.
Yeah, these are my real nails. I got them done for my birthdays tomorrow.
Oh my god, happy birthday. That's so fun.
Isn't Rachel's soon, too?
Me? No, I was in February.
I always think you're a Cancer. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that is totally fine.
Cancer,
honestly.
Natalie.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You're a Cancer. My sister's a Cancer. I'm a Pisces, which I don't.
I would like to inform everyone that we are now officially live.
No, they can't know I'm a Pisces.
There's literally no other way into a podcast with female comics in the city without starting
than talking about astrology.
Yeah, that's
oh my god, that's so
entry
real.
point.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll let you take it from there and have fun. I'm going to disappear and just listen in.
Bye, Michael. Okay, guys, welcome to Shticks and Giggles. I'm Laura Leibow. This is my podcast. We talk about Jews, comedy. We talk to Jewish comics. We talk about whatever we want. I wanted to take like just a minute off the top to talk about Nick Nemroff. Nick passed away recently, and he was one of Toronto comedy's truly most beloved comics and people, and I wanted to specifically honor him here because he did do an episode of my other podcast with the CJN, and he's was Canadian and Jewish, and I really wanted to make sure he was celebrated specifically by that community. So if you're listening, I couldn't recommend going out and downloading his album enough. It was Juno nominated for a very good reason. It's called The Pursuit of Comedy Has Ruined My Life. And I also encourage you to donate to your local chapter of Planned Parenthood in Nick's honor. So with that being said, if Nick were here, I think he would want me to start my podcast in a timely manner and introduce my guests. That's what I think. So I wanted to welcome Rachel Manson and Natalie Norman. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here. Hello.
Hi, I'm here.
We're
Natalie's there, and Rachel's over there.
Guys, Natalie's here. Natalie's here. Come on. Let's get it together.
Rachel said it looks like she's in anthropology because of her little Instagram corner. Is that like the only, like, is that like the best corner of your house? And then the rest
Are you nuts? That is not like, I want to do like a little just turnaround. Hold on, you see some.
Oh, those plants.
That's
Jesus
lovely.
Christ, that's beautiful.
That's the privilege of living by yourself during a pandemic. You get to make your place look as insane as you want.
Wait, you lived by yourself? That is so wonderful.
So jealous. Which is so funny because during the pandemic, it's like, guys, our hearts go out to people living alone right now. Like, please have them in your prayers. Now we're all like, fuck, that sounds awesome.
I'm going to be honest. I feel so lucky that I got to be by myself. I was like, all these couples are breaking up. I was like, LOL, good luck. I get to be, I'm very lucky. I have a 2-bedroom, so I turned my second room into like a little workout place. And I was like, oh, I can be here for another 30 years by myself.
How long have you been in that place?
I've been in this place for 6 years, but by myself, literally the month before the pandemic.
Your roommate left?
Yeah, my roommate
or were
left.
You living with someone who was sexy with you?
No, I never live with anyone. I don't like anyone enough to let them into my space that much.
Yeah.
Well, it's a 2-bedroom, and I do believe if you're going to live with a partner, that should be what you do.
I agree. But no, I was living with my roommate. She bought a condo and left literally February 2020, and then March 2020, we know what happened, and I was like, well, this has worked out well.
Wow. What kismet.
There were like a few months where I would not have been wanting to live alone, where like it would have felt really lonely. And then after those 2 months would have been a massive, massive blessing.
Uh-huh.
It was
Like, you can Zoom with people.
You can Zoom with people.
Who even wants to Zoom with people? Don't lie to me. Don't
Nobody.
lie.
Nobody.
And it was like, there were some days where people were calling me constantly, and I was like, enough. Like, I literally was like, I don't feel like I'm alone because too many people are calling me.
Because
This
I
is
have
a
plants.
nightmare.
Literally
Absolutely.
everywhere. Are you guys introverts? Do you guys identify as introverts?
Yes.
No.
No, Rachel, no to you.
Absolutely fucking not. I want to be clear, and it's so funny when people talk about like, oh, I'm an extroverted introvert, or I'm an introverted extrovert. Like, I love people, but then I like my alone time. Like, yeah, that's just being a fucking human
that's
being.
being a human,
It's just straight up being a human being. Like it's funny. The pandemic has made me more of an introvert because I have straight up lost social skills. Like they're gone. They fell out of the bucket somewhere along the way, and I haven't gone to find them yet. Like I've lost social skills. But
Rachel.
yeah.
I ran into I went to a dog park with my friend maybe like a year ago, or like prime social skill loss era.
Yeah.
And I ran into this girl that I went to camp with, who I haven't seen in, I'm gonna say like
If it's
15
camp,
years.
it's girls.
She was
if
a
it's
girl,
camp, it's
but
girl.
you know what? She has become woman.
Fair.
And
that's
I
on her.
And that's on her. And she should have stopped while she was ahead.
Yeah.
But I saw her, and I was like, oh my God, how are you? Like, how's your family? And I was like, good job. Like, good question. Really nailing it. That's like a perfect question for someone you haven't seen in a while. And then she was like, they're good, da-da-da. And then I don't know why.
I thought
but
you were
was
gonna be like, my whole family's dead. And you're
so-
like, oh, sorry.
I was like, did they all did they all get through the pandemic? And then my friend was like, are you asking her if anyone died from COVID over the pandemic? And I was
That's
like,
amazing.
I guess so, yeah. And she was like, no, they all made it out alive. Thanks.
Oh my God.
No, I like that.
Shut up. I was going to say, now they're making it weird. We should all just be, I feel like we should all be over the weird conversation topics around morbidity. Like, we all went through a deadly pandemic. Nobody should be like, don't bring that up with company. Like,
I love that, Rachel.
we're all
Yeah.
on the brink of death. Just let's talk about it.
I think in general, we should always bring up whatever we want, whenever we want.
That's a big Natalie Norman slogan. That you definitely live by that in a big way.
I have to, because otherwise
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, what else you could do? We're comedians. I mean, what are you expecting from us?
Yeah.
Like,
That's real.
I like to ask whatever I want. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to be mean, but I need to know. I need to know.
Were you
100%.
always like that, Natalie?
No. So that's when you asked if I was an introvert, extrovert.
Yeah.
I consider myself an introvert because I don't actually love being around people. I was like, I'm the youngest of 5, but there's a significant age gap. So I spent
Oh my God.
most of my childhood by myself. So I feel most at peace by myself. And like, comedy is the only reason I'm social. Like,
Yes.
and the first few years were really hard for me, and even sometimes are hard for me because I have to be around so many people and there's so much energy that afterwards
Totally.
I'm like, I need to be by myself immediately. I hate everyone. Like, I gotta hide out. That's why the pandemic was so, like, my friends called me during the pandemic and they're like, you know, we always joke about how we hate people, but they're like, I think you actually hate people and really are thriving.
But see, that's great. It's good to know that about yourself. Like I used to have such, which is so funny because I grew up as a like nature kid nerd. Like I was like,
Rachel,
I had
I'm not
broken
surprised.
glasses.
That's
This
so
is not,
cute.
none of this is shocking. Like everything about it screams you were alone in a creek for like 7 years. But I was literally like, I liked bugs, I liked little things, and I didn't talk to anybody. And then like it took until I was like 20 or 19, I guess, is when I started stand up to realize like, oh, this is a drug. And then that's literally, then that became extroverted.
Well, there is something. So, like, I am an introvert. I'm like a full introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tell people that, and they're like, "But you do stand up. Like,
You do
get up
stand
and
up.
you talk in front of a bunch of people." But honestly, the format of stand up is so structured and rigid. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking. It's my time. You're watching me, and you're quiet, and that's the power dynamic, and that's the structure, and I don't have to worry about it. And if you talk too much or try and like get in the way, I can ask you to be removed, depending on which club I'm at. Like, there's a real format to it, and that is my dream. I love people, but I like structure, social structure as well. That makes me very comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, stand-up is like by definition not a group activity. Like,
No.
we don't work in groups. We're not improv people. Like, this is notoriously a like solo activity that people just come and watch you do. So it's yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I never think of comedy like that because I'm so interactive with the crowd.
You are.
Yeah, you are. I was gonna say you're very much a crowd work comedian, which is so fun.
Which is funny because if you ask like male comedians if I'm a crowd work comedian, they would say no because they don't. Because crowd work is like this very specific thing where you go out, how's your day going? And then you make riffs about that. But I'm more like, we're in a conversation. This is like my time to talk to people and I want you to be a part of it. And I think it's the more like, mine feels like a little more like, we're in this together.
Yeah,
but it's
I
not
literally just watched you like schmooze a crowd of 200 people.
Oh my
like,
God,
just,
that
like,
was
shoot the shit with like 200 people in Hamilton. The average age of which was like 70.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
and
That's so nuts.
it was so. I wasn't planning on doing that, but it's just the nature of who I am. It's like it's weird because I don't necessarily, like I said, love people, but I love like interacting with people and hearing their reactions. And that, I mean, it was so crazy because I never thought that in front of 200 people I would like I literally was like, tell me about your single men, and then I pointed at people.
You.
But then it worked.
You single
this
man.
woman went up to her. Wait, did that woman ever reach out to you?
Oh, we're in conversation right now.
Okay, she got.
What are you
like,
talking about?
Natalie managed to like find a matchmaker in the crowd to matchmake her with somebody.
Yes.
Wait.
So
Whoa. Hold on.
By the way, sorry, really quickly, we are technically talking about feminism, but I would just argue that this is feminist. Like, it's happening.
And
we're in
what's
the middle
more
of it.
feminist than boys? But
Well,
wait,
so
wait,
yes,
like
go
her
on.
profession is matchmaker?
no, okay, so I'll explain. So me and Laura did the Jewish Comedy Festival in Hamilton. We were the only
Right.
two ladies.
Perfect.
And which is with a smorgasbord of incel-like men.
Yep.
And I would say that to their faces.
Yep.
And
Some very lovely incels.
yes,
Some of
but
the
Well,
like,
they're Jewish.
well, you know what? It's like incel's more of a vibe to me and an energy.
Sure, yeah.
I agree with that.
However, me and Laura were the only two females. Laura went up, she killed. And then I went up miserable because I don't want to perform on these shows because I always agree in front of a bunch of Jews. And it's always like an older crowd. And I was just miserable. I brought my bag on stage and I was like, I'm not even doing my
Huge bag, like massive bag.
That's incredible. That is such a
luggage.
fucking.
She brought luggage on stage.
That is
yeah.
such a power move.
And
I
a
can't
huge water
even.
bottle, like a
That's-
massive Nalgene.
That is so amazing. First of all, every Jewish mom in the audience will be like, okay, finally, time to talk. But
Yeah,
like
exactly.
also such a power move to be like, I'm on my way somewhere else.
Well, my thing is like, I don't like there was a green
My
room.
flight
but
gets in any second.
Pearson's all fucked up. I'm just here in the wait time, yeah.
But like the problem was the green room door was open and it was anybody could walk in and I had my computer. So I was like, I'm bringing this. I'll explain to them that I don't trust any of them or the comedians. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be the most Jewish for me, which is I
Good.
talk to everyone. Jewish is like, it's weird because I introvert, but once again, Jewish people, we just talk to everyone, whether or not we like them.
Yes.
It's like, we're just forced to. And that's what I wanted to do. I was like, oh, this is a place where everyone is supposedly Jewish. I'm just going to be the most Jewish version of myself. And
Yeah.
that means I'm going to come up here kind of disheveled, say what I want to say. And then I asked the crowd, I'm only here looking for love. I figured if there's someone that's going to know
Jews.
someone, it's going to be at this Jewish comedy show.
100%.
And a woman came up to me in the bathroom afterwards and said, first of all, you and Laura were my favorites.
Of course.
So I just
Because
wanna-
The female comedians often kill.
Yeah, well,
Well, I will say, like, it was surprising. Not to say that, like, Hamilton's a small town, but outside of Toronto, things can really go either way. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you can definitely be largely disliked before you get up on stage. So it was so refreshing to see these Jews in their, like, truly, like, 60s and 70s, like, truly, really enjoy me and Natalie. Like, really liked us and said so
That's so
afterwards.
great.
It
Yeah.
felt
Oh,
really
that's
nice.
wonderful.
it was really nice. And it was like, and so that was great. And then she was like, also, I have a list of single men who live in Toronto. can I set you up? And I was like, I started screaming in the bathroom. I was like, yes, this is my dream. So we exchanged Instagram handles, and now we're in talks. She asked me a bunch of questions. I literally just haven't had time to answer them, but I will be answering them, and I'll keep you all updated because I'm very excited.
Please do. But quick question: if she's not a matchmaker, why does she have a list of Jews?
Well, she's a
kind
Jewish
of
woman.
I was gonna say this was a question, and then I answered it myself, being like, "Well, surely this is just a mother. This is
that's
just
fair.
a Jewish
Yeah, that's
mother
reasonable.
who has a mental and I'm sure physical list on her phone of the
I have
single
a mental.
woman."
I have a
Just in
mental
case.
list. I have a mental list of like people who are single, and like if I see someone, I'm like, oh, that's a good match.
That's so
God.
generous.
I don't
think
care
anyone
about
but myself.
I literally just about to say I don't care about anyone enough to do that. Nor do I like anyone enough to do that, I think. Maybe I am an introvert.
Yeah.
Like, wild. Wow.
Well, it's a good mitzvah to set people up.
Oh, it is a
okay.
good mitzvah. Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's nice. Setting two people up, finding
It is
love.
nice.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
it's
nice.
objectively
I'm not.
a nice thing to do. It's objectively a nice thing to do.
I don't consider myself a particularly nice person.
But maybe you're kind. There's like nice and there's kind.
Nice is different than good. Nice is different than
Yes,
good.
yes.
As Sondheim. Why did I do that?
Oh, you were also a musical theater.
I don't. Why? Literally, the minute I said it, I was like, "Why the fuck would you
Oops, I
announce
told
that
myself.
to anyone? To anyone that? Yeah."
But I do want to say something while we're on the talk of this Jewish. I just like, and I would say this to the producer, but like I was like, yeah, there was no reason to book anyone but me, Laura, the headliner, and Ben.
Yep.
That would have been a fantastic show, quick, and like, I mean, I think me and Laura are a little more ahead in our comedy careers than the other people on the show. And it's not necessarily about gender, but it's just
Also,
like
Jewish
They were, like,
women kill in
definitely-
Jewish crowds. Jewish
Yes.
women kill in Jewish crowds. And yeah, I don't know the larger like sociological breakdown of that. I honestly just think female comedians are sometimes better. But
I genuinely think they're better, and I'm happy
okay,
to say that.
Good. Okay, good. I don't want to be gendered, but yeah, it's not non-cis male comedians, and you're in for a treat. That's my just not always, but that's a nice rule of thumb.
it's exciting, right? Like I honestly still identify as a comedy fan.
Right.
Not more than a comic, but like very close, because I feel like I started late and I went to see comedy all the time, like in Toronto, just saw local comedy all the time. And even though there's definitely a big push for like diverse lineups, still there's so many straight cis white male comics, and it's just exciting to see something else sometimes. Whether it's like material that works for you or not, that you relate to, it's a thrill to get something a little bit different on the line.
100%.
Well, I have a theory as to why women tend to be better in comedy, and that's because we feel there's fewer opportunities. So when we get to stage, we have to try harder.
Yeah.
So
and prepare.
And prepare, and we have less time. So when you are put in those circumstances, you're going to give it your all. When all the opportunities are available for you, you're like, oh, well, I have another show tomorrow or 8 shows tonight. You know, you don't have to think about these things. But for all of us, so like by the nature of that, and it may not be like, it's not necessarily a gender thing. It's just about a thing where like, this is how society has set us up. So we have to really get there and be prepared and try our hardest, because we also know if we're the only woman on the show and we do poorly, that's it for all of us.
Yeah.
That is definitely a big driving factor for me, like a huge one.
100%, because they'll walk away from a not great male comedian and be like, I didn't like that guy. But they'll walk away from us being like, I don't like women. Like, I don't like female comedians. They're not for me.
Well, I'm sure you've both had this happen to you, where someone comes up to you after a show and says, I liked you, but I generally don't like female comics. Right?
It's a crazy thing. I have had that.
It is an insane. It's. There's two pairings to that. It's already nuts that you feel that that's an opinion you can have, and it's already more nuts and an extra layer of entitlement to feel like you can share that with me. Like,
they think it's a compliment.
They think it's a compliment.
Exactly. But it's also just so wild that if you had bombed, then that would have solidified their image of female comics. But then you did well, and they still can't shift their perspective.
Yeah,
like they won't
100%.
mold their perspective. It just is an outlier.
Yeah,
right?
it's like, you were good, which surprised me. I'm not going to take this with me or learn anything from this, but you did good.
even
Right.
more so than that, you know, for me, what I don't like about that, it like kind of like puts this idea that female comics are in competition with each other.
Always.
Yeah, that's
oh
true.
my God,
Yeah.
always.
And that's, it's like, oh, there could only be one, when, like, you know, as I get more and more into comedy and older, I'm like, no, there's so many different types of female comedians. There doesn't have to
Yes.
be just one. Like, if there can be 18 male comedians, there can also be 18 female comedians.
Oh, honestly, the main thing on a lineup that's like, if there's anything that's ever too homogenized on a lineup, it's style for me.
Yes!
You know what I
That's
mean?
so true.
If every comic on the lineup has the same style or very close to it, it's arduous. It's a long show. But if there's so many different styles, it's such a fucking awesome show, especially if the lineup's well made and like well placed.
Yeah, if you have somebody outgoing, then like really like animated, and then immediately after that somebody deadpan, and then it goes back, it's so fun. But if you have an entire show that's deadpan stops being a style. It just becomes boring.
Well,
Well,
just really quickly, because the last time I saw Nick, I was saying how
Yeah.
I did a taping recently and they put me first, and I was like rattled by it. Just for the layman, comics don't want to go first. That's not a good spot in the show for anyone listening. And I was like, yeah, I just chose to take it as a compliment because I was very upset, like frustrated by it. And he was like, you should try putting like no energy behind any of the jokes you say, and then they'll
Nick
never
said this?
put you first. Yeah,
That's so funny. My
was
God,
like,
is
yeah,
that
that's
why
such
he
a good
had his
point.
style? Oh, fuck,
well, it just was a
that's
happy
crazy.
consequence of his style that
Yeah.
he never
That's-
had to go bullet. Yeah.
Wow, that's
That's-
so
I-
funny. I never thought about that.
I mean, I actually think it's a compliment. I mean, I think it's the host's
Yeah.
job to warm the show up.
People forget
Obviously-
that a lot.
And
They
as a
forget-
host, when you start hosting more, you really realize that bullet is not actually bullet. That going
Bullet's
first is not,
not
actually going
bullet.
first. Yeah.
It's not at all like, people will be like, I don't want to go first, and like at my weekly show, and I'll be like, believe me, you're not first.
Yeah. No.
Me and Jess are doing 15 to 20 minutes. They are
Natalie and
warmed
Jess
up.
will do a tight half hour at the beginning of that
And
show.
by the time you
Just
get
a
up
full
there,
podcast. Yeah.
100%.
But by the time you get up there, like, you are not first. They're so excited, and that's the point of why we do it, because we want to make sure
Yeah.
they're really warmed up and
Yeah.
really into it.
Totally.
Because that's our job as hosts. And I don't think, like, I get put first a lot. And you know what? Now I look at them like, great. You know what? If I'm in a mood, I go, great. I'll just kill.
Yeah.
I'll just destroy. Good luck to everyone who has to come after me.
Yeah.
That's the host's fault.
Yeah.
that is a really, really good attitude, though.
Excellent. It really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the more I MC, the more I like. That is terrifying. I actually recently asked to be put on more MC gigs because I'm so terrified of it and
Yeah.
not good at it.
Wow, good for you.
I really shouldn't like advertise that I'm bad at it. I'm getting much better. But
It's-
I
I don't
just
think
wanted
you're
to
probably bad at
train
it.
myself a
No.
bit more.
You're probably not bad at it, but it is frightening being the first person on stage.
And the energy is completely unpredictable.
Right.
Eventually, once you watch a couple of comedians, you're like, okay, this is the kind of audience we're dealing with, so I can adjust my jokes accordingly.
Exactly.
When you go in on a blank slate, every single one of them could be asleep, or they could all be there to, like, down to clown, and you don't know until you start talking.
Well, you're cold calling them.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yes. So, but good on you, but, like, it is terrifying, and I don't think people realize, like, that's the worst spot, is having
Yes.
to host.
Oh,
But it's
terrible.
also the most liberating spot.
Yes.
Because, first of all, maybe the crowd doesn't know this, but other comics know that it's the hardest job. So
It's
there's a
awful.
lot of
Oof.
freedom to fail in a way. And because you kind of do have to do crowd work and you do have to be a bit more spontaneous,
Mm-hmm.
you just have to let go of control. You have to let go of like killing and doing a really precise set.
Yeah.
It's so nice in a way. The more you do it, it's just very liberating.
Yeah, it definitely can be, especially when you realize as a host, nothing you can do. No one is going to walk away from a show being like, my favorite person was the host.
That's a really good
It's
point.
impossible.
They
So-
also don't think you're a comic.
and if they do, you booked a bad show. Like, sorry.
Yeah, true.
But yeah. So it is a freedom.
It's funny because I don't like hosting till this day. I still get anxious about it.
Aw.
That's even after hosting.
I was gonna say you do this
I-
every single week.
For
I do it
years.
every single week,
Years.
and I used to have another weekly,
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
right?
I forgot. Holy fuck.
And every week it was so hard. But what I can say is that what is so great about being a host is you can try the most new things. You can play around the most. And that's probably why I'm so conversational, is because I've hosted
Yeah,
so
true.
much that like for me, a part of it, like, listen, I want to kill always, and I want to kill as a host too. So that's, I think, part of it is why I talk to everyone during my sets, like, because that's just how I learned how to be a comic and a good comic.
That brings up a really interesting point, which is like your comedic style. I feel like when we all start comedy, we have an idea of what we would like our comedic style to be. But your comedic style is so shaped by the shows that you get consistently put on and like the role that you have in those shows. Like if you're doing like shows in Ontario outside of Toronto primarily, your style is just going to accidentally mold into a style that would kill in those locations. If you're hosting all the time, your style is just going to mold into a style that would kill as a host. Like whether you want it to or not, it's going to have a massive impact on you, which is why it's nice to really mix it up a lot, you know?
That's a really good point.
It's nice to mix up, but I will say that hosting, for me, all those times hosting, I think it makes you the strongest comedian you could be because you have to deal with, you're like dropped, right? Like you said, cold calling, you're like dropped in a field and you're like, okay, figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's such an important thing to remember is I think, you know, because I mainly do shows in Toronto and I have like these little crowds, people think, you know, they're like, oh, she can't survive in the country. And I'm like, no. I know what's going on. Like, do not think that, we're aware. Like, I've been to other cities and I know how to, like, kill there. I just prefer not to.
Oh, yeah. We've all done an Oshawa show on a Tuesday, and it's soul-crushing.
Literally the last time I did Oshawa, I have a joke about Jewish stereotypes. The crowd started shouting out their favorite Jewish stereotypes, the ones that they like most related to.
Thank God someone brought it up. Like, that's awful. That's so bad. Oh God,
I kind of love it.
It was hilarious.
That's
so
funny.
Really funny. And the time before that, I talked about how I don't look Jewish, and then this guy said, "Yeah, you do. The nose."
What? You don't have a big nose.
You have zero nose.
Thank you, and that's why I brought this up.
Good.
You're welcome. But sometimes I'll say sometimes I love those, like, no matter, once I leave Toronto, I'm like, oh, I can be even more disgusting.
That's true. Yeah.
Because disgusting always works unless you're in like some weird, like, religious town.
Yeah.
Well, I will say sometimes in really, really, really small towns or towns where it's like it's small enough that whoever's there is a true community, like they all know each other.
Right.
They often don't want to hear gross stuff, if only because it's partly I think it's religious, but also it's like I don't want Joe from around the corner to know that I think this is appropriate or funny. Like there's a weird like to be on the same page.
Yeah. I almost think of them as like little like Christian townships. That's what I'm talking about. Like
totally
those, when you go into those, like I try to be my cleanest, and I don't do them often, especially not now. No. But I try to be my cleanest because they just have a different life, and like I do want to relate to them. I do want them to enjoy the show, and that's I think a big difference is I see a lot of some comedians are like they have a motto that like no matter what I do, I'm going to do what I want to do. It doesn't matter where I am. Where for me, it's like, no, I want to make these people happy, so I will change my setup.
100%, and it's like,
job.
Yeah, it's you're kind of there to do a job, and it's not just that like these people also came to see a show that this might be their one night out for the week. Yeah. They don't, and I absolutely try your best shit, see if it kills, be cool and confident in your stuff and be experimental, but like. At the end of the day, if you're going to a St. Catherine's, like, bar with buck shooting as its main
I'm like talking
thing,
like Port Credit.
I was gonna say that as I was saying, I was like, that bar loves filthy shit. I mean, like the Port Hope's like military reenactment towns.
Turkey's Point.
Yes,
totally.
Like
Turkey Point.
No,
if they have a no, if they have a fair, that's a pretty good indication. If they have some sort of fair that they all look forward to.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. I want to discuss this. This is interesting. I didn't even clock this until you guys got here. But we all grew up in the Jewish Toronto community.
Yes.
Did we? Now
high schools, excuse me.
That was
Rachel.
incredibly rude of me. I'm so sorry. I erased your past in just mere moments.
Wait, where did we all? Should we all?
Oh my God, let's.
To high school?
Let's.
3, 2. Oh wait, are we saying high school or neighborhood?
High school.
High school.
Let's say high school first.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Forest Hill.
York
Collegiate High
Mills.
School. York Mills.
Chat.
Chat.
Which one?
Chat. The not char. The chat.
Okay.
Chat.
And
So
which
in
part
order
ending.
of Judaism, it goes Rachel, then me, then Natalie, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I was in French immersion.
Oh, yeah. That's like
I went to
basically.
French immersion when I was a kid.
Where did you go to French immersion?
I went to Toronto French
Wild.
School. I spoke
Whoa.
French literally fluently, and now I don't.
Yeah, that happens. That
That's
happens.
nuts.
What a waste of time.
Wait.
If anyone wants to speak Yiddish,
None of
I
us
know
wa-
3 words.
I know a lot of Yiddish.
I took Yiddish recently. I took a class
Where?
through the JCC.
Yiddish is
online on
wild.
Zoom.
Next
Yeah.
class, let me come up because I tried to do Duolingo. I don't know if you know this, has Yiddish.
They do.
No
Yes, and it was a little hard for me, and I just like to bump on my Yiddish because with my ex, I love to send him. He's also Jewish, so as a
Awesome.
fun game, I send him Yiddish words.
Some
and,
Yiddish dirty talk for sure.
Yeah, and he calls me his Yiddish doll. So we're
So
really
cute.
no, it's not cute.
Disgusting. I mean it in the
Jewish.
grossest way.
But
Wow. No, I learned Yiddish in Hebrew because I went to Bialik Hebrew Day School.
Okay.
Up until grade 8, and then
So
Yiddish
you've been
was like
in it. You've
mandatory.
been in it to win it since
I'll
since
be-
the old days.
I'll be honest, I did go to like, you know how some people took like Hebrew like school on Sundays?
Yeah.
Like
But-
I did Yiddish.
Wow. That's very cool.
See,
No, it
Yiddish,
wasn't cool.
Yiddish is the people's language.
Not at the time.
Yiddish is like, the socialist language.
It's like
that
amicable
was not the written
German.
language.
Well-
Well, it's just a bit more folksy, and it's an
It's folksy
inherently
German.
funny
That's good.
language.
Well, people always
so
ask me because I think there's a lot of Yiddish in my like everyday, especially when I'm not around comedians, like just a lot of Yiddish words that I use. And my barista, I'm very close with him. I visit
That's
every
a
day.
Yiddish word, by the way, barista. No.
It is
No.
absolutely not. Laura.
I almost was like, what?
Oh yeah, they had baristas in the shtetl.
Oh, for sure.
A
But
million, totally.
He asked me the other day. He's like, "Oh, like what's a like a positive like happy word?" I was like, "No. You're not getting what Yiddish is. It's full of curses and words to like insult people
And like tragedy. Yeah.
tragedy and like the best insults you've ever heard." And like my mom and dad spoke Yiddish around the house, so that's why like I went to
What?
Yiddish. Yeah, my parents are immigrants, so they all spoke so much Yiddish in my house. So one
Oh
day
my
They
though,
speak it fluently? Can they speak it fluently?
yes.
That's awesome. I'm so jealous.
Wild.
And then, but when I was like last summer, around my birthday, I think it was my birthday last summer, I asked them, it was me, my mom, my dad, and like 2 siblings, and we were like, teach us some Yiddish slang. And we were cry laughing because it was so wild.
That's
like,
crazy.
One
Give
of
us
them
Tell us
is-
give
some.
us
Yeah, I
something.
want some.
yeah. So ones that I can remember, and I might be translating it incorrectly, but it's guy cooking yum.
Guy
Guy-
cooking
Guy
yum.
cooking yum.
Guy cooking yum, which is it's like go into the lake and die or something. Something like it's something like go in the lake and shit yourself. Like there's
Well,
ones
yum.
like-
Yeah, that's yum.
yeah. And then there's one about bagels where it's like I curse you to never have bagels or something. Like
That feels
that's wonderful.
stereotypical. That's my favorite Jewish stereotype.
yeah, that we love bagels.
That we love bagels, 100%.
But how did we get into talking to Yiddish? Oh,
Because we
Yiddish,
all grew up in
where-
the Toronto
it's where we
Jewish
all went,
community.
yeah.
And I'm curious, first of all, like, how Jewish were we all raised? Because obviously Rachel pretty
That's
Jewish.
a great question. Yes.
I was raised half culturally Jewish and then half, Shabbat, high holiday Jewish, but like mostly culturally so. Natalie, what about you?
well, it's really interesting. So they speak Yiddish, but no one like honestly, I'm the most religious family member.
Okay.
Because I had a family friend where I'd go to Shabbos dinner. Otherwise, if we did Friday night dinner, we didn't call it Shabbos, and we'd go
Yeah.
to Swiss Chalet.
Okay, I see.
That's amazing. And you know what's so funny? Not for Shabbat, because in my family it was like we had Shabbos every Friday, like always a challah, always Shabbat, like
With the whole family, Rachel, like cousins,
Oh
everybody.
no.
Just
also like
yeah.
we have a lot of pseudo cousins because
Okay.
a lot of the cousins are from the other half of the world and found by our dear friend Hitler. But the my mom's parents, so like my grandparents, who came from like Holocaust survivors, fucking loved Swiss Chalet in Kitchener. And they, like, it was a weekly, like, Swiss Chalet visit. And that's, so maybe Swiss Chalet is somehow
lot of
innately
salt?
Jewish.
Well,
a lot of salt.
There's a Swiss Chalet really close to my parents' house, but so
Cute.
that's what I think it.
So
and
it's
it was
more
affordable.
more proximity.
Well,
Affordable.
Well, because
Maybe
there's 5
like,
kids in my family.
Switzerland was like neutral.
Chicken's huge with Jews. Chicken's like all we had in Poland. That's
And
like chicken
potatoes.
and potatoes. Chicken and potatoes. God,
but it's just I think it was for my family that it was there's 5 kids.
yeah, that's
a
real.
lot.
I did
So I
not
think
know you had four siblings.
I have 4 siblings.
Wild.
the
I did not know that.
And I'm the
That's
youngest.
crazy. Where were
Yeah.
your parents from?
That's a perfect formula for getting into comedy.
That it really is. Oh my god, a bunch of siblings and you're the youngest.
You're the
100%.
youngest.
If you met my family, I'm the most normal.
Wow.
And I know, and I actually think the second quietest.
That's wild. Oh my god, I would
Interesting.
kill to be at Shabbat dinner with the Norman.
No, it's my birthday tomorrow, and my brother lives very close to me, and he has like a nice backyard. So I'm having my parents, and my brother are going there, and then I'm inviting a few friends, and I know some of them are like, I can't come because I know what your family's like, and it's just too much.
Oh, see, that's
Holy
a comfort to me. I
That's
love that kind
wonderful.
of noise.
Oh my
and
gosh.
chaos.
So like in terms of we had like 2 other Jewish families that we grew up all to be cousins, and we were all like within a block walking distance. And when all 3 families are in the same place, it's like there's no break in a convert. Like it's everyone is having 7 conversations at the same time at full volume. Like there's 4 babies just on the ground. No one's checking on them.
No one's
Like,
checking.
there's like a dog here and there. Like there's people aren't even eating dinner at the table. Some people are on the ground. Some people are like in the backyard. Some people are on a couch. I love that shit. It's amazing.
You guys are gonna be so excited. I'm going to UB United Bakery tonight for my bubby's dinner for her birthday.
Oh my god,
First
that's
of all,
so wonderful.
how old's your bubby turning?
Yeah.
Don't you dare put me on the spot like that. I'm so bad at knowing things.
I
Amanda,
don't know anything. Wait, Natalie,
My
how old
sister
are
would
you
know.
turning?
I'm turning double high.
You're turning double high?
Wow.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. I look
you don't
really
look double
good.
high, yeah.
Wow.
It's
You
called
look single
but-
high.
You look
I
single.
am-
You look one
well,
high.
I'm definitely single high in life.
Oh my god, love it.
But it's called not having kids and
Yeah,
Botox.
Sure.
Oh,
you do
hot.
Botox. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not
And I'm-
obvious.
Are you?
No,
wait,
because
have you both gotten it?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I'm very open about it. I go to a Jewish doctor, so
No, you look amazing.
and
This
also
is
my
like I'm genuine. Like that's
And
awesome.
also
Yeah,
my
Botox
lips-
is not fillers. Like it's.
well, I
pretty
have filler
subtle.
too.
It's also
Hot
subtle.
damn.
Your Jewish
Once
doctor did a
again,
great job.
If you go
Yeah.
to a good doctor, like my lips are filled, and
I love it.
Oh no, you'd be shocked at the people who have it that you would never know because it is done quite well.
because
Like,
if
really
you
subtle.
don't, if like I didn't have a top lip. I had no
Uh-oh,
top
where'd
lip.
it go?
It was look at this.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
It was like
Where'd it go?
Anyway,
I like that look.
yeah.
I really
no,
do.
you don't. No, you don't.
No, I really do. Like, and especially with like toothy people when they have like a thinner upper lip, and I'm not being facetious. I think it looks cool. That's just me.
Okay, wait. Did we figure out how old your
So-
puppy is?
Oh, 87?
Yeah.
9? Oh my god, I'm the worst.
Whatever, it
I
does-
think she listens
Old.
to this, but I love
It's fine.
her. I love her. She's
Yeah.
getting older, and I love her.
She's getting older and I love her. And she's
But wait,
like
I
a
do
day
want to
over.
know. I do want to know how
single
much
high.
she's at least single to double high.
She doesn't look a day over double high. That's what we know.
I want to know how much the Jewish community in Toronto like influenced you guys as people, but also like did it push you into stand up in any way? Like, was the community influential in like your comedy, in feeling like maybe a bit of an outcast? So comedy's a natural pursuit.
Yeah.
Anything?
I'll
to
let
say
Rachel
about
go
that?
first.
Thank you, Natalie. It's so funny you say that because growing up, I didn't know, like I was in very much a Jewish bubble, and I didn't know, like I thought we were just, I thought we were just normal Jewish. Like I thought everyone was as religious as we were, and it didn't take until leaving the bubble to realize like, oh, we were like kind of pretty conservatively religious. Like we weren't Shomer Shabbat or anything like that, but like the people in my high school, there was like people who were Shomer Shabbat or Shomer Nagia, which means you can't touch anyone of the opposite sex. So like I was like, oh, we're not that, so we're like pretty chill. But like and then I go outside and I was like, oh wait, fuck, no, like most people don't do half this shit. Like I still can't wear pants to synagogue. Like that's a big point of
What
contention with me
synagogue
and
do
my
you go
mom.
to?
Beth Shalom.
Oh, same.
No.
I do. I don't
No.
go anymore, but
I was going to say,
my booby there.
haven't seen you there in easily a decade. Come
But
on.
my sweet bubby still every year is like, I have your tickets.
Oh,
your
I'm sure I've
tickets.
seen her then, because I mean, I haven't, it's not since the pandemic, but
She's
I
the
still,
woman who looks 87.
amazing.
So it's 87.
Keep an eye out.
Gorgeous. But
But so you grew up in a bubble, and
So I grew up in a very Jewish bubble, and it wasn't until, so I was just like, I mean, I was definitely like a theater kid at Chad at high school. I was very much a theater kid, and I liked doing that. But it wasn't until I got to university, like outside of the Jewish bubble and the Jewish community, that I was like, oh, I sound and talk differently than most people that I'm meeting now. So I guess I was influenced, but I didn't even know it was different. So when I got to university, I had this reputation of like, oh my God, she's so like funny and loud. But I was like, everyone I know is funny and loud. So I guess I was influenced, but I didn't know it until I didn't know it until I left.
Interesting.
I think it's like so bizarre for me. When I was a kid at home, I was very, very quiet. And then I went to summer camp, as one does.
Summer camp is where we find ourselves, of course.
Well, I really I felt comfortable. So and it wasn't like always like this at summer camp, but as I got older, like, she was like the funny girl. But it wasn't until like, I think my parents were truly shocked when I said I wanted to be a comedian, because they didn't know me as like the jokester.
Oh, that's so
right?
funny.
They wouldn't have ever guessed it. But, around my friends, I was like, in university, I lived with 3 non-Jews. I was like the token Jew. Like, I'm very, and I'm more religious, like I said, than everyone else in my family.
Right.
So it always, and I come from a Yiddish household. I've always loved comedy.
Right.
But I think what really, like, my Judaism came out more in my comedy when I met Robbie Hoffman.
Yeah.
And I think and I also think her Judaism came out more for herself. Because I think both of us, like when we started, everyone thinks that there's a ton of Jews in comedy, and there is, but not in Montreal and Toronto.
No.
No.
There's very few of us, but when we met each other, it was like we both come from big families. We both speak Yiddish. My parents are immigrants. Like her grandparents are immigrants. So I think, and together, like I always spoke Yiddish to like certain people, and it's like a token thing. Where with her, we just understand each other. And I think, and maybe she doesn't see this, but definitely she became more Jewish around me. And then it kind of just started going, flowing out into my comedy. And I was like, oh, right, this is who I am, because I've always been like this. But when you start comedy, you're trying to find your voice, and you kind of turn off the things that maybe are truly you.
Yeah,
Totally.
And I think, but also being more comfortable, I like, and I think Yiddish is funny, but the problem is like, and I always include in my language, but you have to explain things. So it's, because people don't know the language. So
I sometimes think that's funnier. Like I use Yiddish words often with non-Jews, and I always say Mazel Tov instead of congratulations to whoever
Me
I'm
too.
talking to.
Oh,
and I love when they don't know what I'm saying. Like it almost adds to the comedy. Like to me, it's funny when someone says something on stage, like a word in a language that's their language, and I don't know what it means, and I'm like, I don't know. There's something about it where I'm like, yeah, that's yours. That belongs to you, and like you're in your authentic self right now. And I don't get it, but I'm excited for you, and it sounds funny. You know what I mean?
For sure. And like Yiddish in particular is what I love about it is that certain words, you don't have to know what they mean to get the word.
Yeah, it sounds very much like its meaning.
So like when I say fakakta on stage, people are like, know what exactly
they
what
know
I'm
what
saying.
fakakta is.
There's
100%.
like a shape to that word. Like,
Yeah.
you can feel it. It's
or like shmata or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Shmata's a really good one. Yeah,
I get it really weirdly Jewish though around my lovers.
That's so funny.
I don't know. It's just like,
I would have never.
I don't in the intimate situation.
That's not in the sex part of my brain. That's like my Jewish identity is so, which it shouldn't be, but it's so, because I grew up with like rabbis around every corner, like it's just not in the sexy part.
By the way, I'm so sorry to my family, but I think maybe it's just Natalie's like choking on cum, and so it sounds like she's speaking Yiddish. I'm sorry to my producer and my family.
On this podcast. Wow.
I'm not sorry. Yeah. No, I actually
be.
say, I think at the core of me is I'm very like a Yiddish, like a greenie.
Yes.
Do you know the term
Yeah.
greenie? I think and then the outer world has affected me and kind of dulled that. So when I'm in an intimate situation, I'm the most me.
so
You're that
interesting.
Yiddish
Yeah.
Mädel.
So like
100%.
I'm a Yiddish Mädel, so like a lot of the time I'll be like Baruch Hashem, like
Oh, but you do say Baruch Hashem a lot, which is so funny because I used to say it a lot, and then I like was around non-Jews enough that I just kind of stopped.
Exactly.
And then you reminded me, and I was like, oh yeah, what a great like Baruch Hashem, like it's a perfect like.
yeah. So
That's
like
a good
I'll,
example of how like being around another Jew solidifies your Judaism.
Yes, totally.
because it makes us feel comfortable, right? Like
yes.
and safe. But like
yeah.
I'm with like a lover and I'll be like Baruch Hashem, and then I remember one guy was like Baruch Hashem, and I was like Baruch Hashem. And I'm
Read a book. Come
And
on.
Yiddish.
And I'm
That's so
yelling at
funny.
him, and I'm like, or like someone will be like, or like a lover will be like, come over, we'll make brisket, we'll have matzo ball soup, we'll do it all.
Oh.
He's like, what is wrong with you?
We'll
I
have
also love that
sex.
you
We'll
call
have
them
challah.
Lovers. I don't
Lovers.
think
I was
ever used that
gonna
term.
bring that up later. I love the idea of calling them lovers.
You
I think
use
that's
it well.
beautiful.
Like I
You use
could-
it very well.
you
If
know,
I said lovers, everyone would be
sometimes-
like, ugh.
yeah,
weird.
but
What does she do
it
to
rolls
them?
off through your tongue very organically.
Yeah,
Well, because
for sure.
they're not my boyfriends, that's for sure.
I think the word they're lovers, it feels like when some people use it, like they have like a roster, like all of their lovers are currently in the room that they're in, like hiding.
Yeah.
I don't
It
know,
also
there's
feels very
something-
old timey. It feels
does
very
feel
old timey,
old-timey.
very.
I think
yeah.
you guys aren't getting that. I am literally, though I'm double high, a very
Double
young
high.
and wonderful age.
nubile Jewish woman.
In at my core, I'm 150.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
fair.
I got that.
Like I'm. Anyways, yes.
Wait, I also want to know, just in the name of staying slightly on theme, how feminist you were raised, if at all, if feminism factored into your guys' upbringing, or if that was a later discovery. And if you don't want to talk about it, that's also okay.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I'm like, no. And then we just have to move on.
My family's garbage, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, Natalie, you go for it. I took it last time.
Okay. I wouldn't say my household was like a feminist household, but I do have 3 sisters.
Yep.
Which is a lot of women, but I think I was a loudmouth sometimes. Moments I was a loudmouth was because I felt frustrated with the way I was treated
Yeah.
by like little schoolboys. I remember I got into a fight with someone who's like now a friend of mine, and I was like, he called me fat. I was like, you're fat. Like, and I'm going to speak up for myself because who else is going to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it just by, what I see around me kind of affected me. And, being around a lot of women, I think tends, and everyone's different. What am I saying? I think I've been a lot of loudmouth women.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think I thought of it as feminism, but I thought, oh, I'm just going to say what I want and speak up for myself because this is how I'm raised.
That's
Yeah.
such a
And
good
you were in a
point.
family
That's
of
such a good
5.
point.
Like, there's
Yeah, you
no
have to do
time
that.
to waste.
No time.
I like didn't grow up. I would say my mom probably actually currently would call herself a feminist, but it was certainly I wasn't growing up on like feminist literature. But my mom certainly lived by the ideals of feminism in the sense that she always spoke up for herself. Like she didn't back down. She was always like in charge of shit. Whenever people would like defer to my dad, she would like take over.
That's awesome.
Like behaved like with the ideals that made it very easy for me to transition into feminism later in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think Judaism bakes in a lot of argument. Like it's like my dad is
Yeah.
was always very important of like, if a person is being stupid, you gotta really academically, mentally take them down, which is
I mean,
I
that's-
love. Which I not in a way that's like destroy them, but just in a way of like
You destroy them.
and then hurt who they are. No, but it's like it's like you gotta like do your homework so that you
Yeah.
can like when someone's being silly or like it's funny because at the time it was against my Hebrew teachers who were objectively stupid, and he was like, no, they're dumb and you need to be able to like explain to them why. So there was that, and it's funny because I had a bit of a mixed bag because there was there's a whole thing of like I can't wear pants to synagogue. That's a big point of contention with me and my
Just
mom.
to clarify, okay, that's a your mother policy.
That's in my mother policy, but that's arguably not a like women should do this. It's like
I just
like
want to say,
yeah.
I would never, even if we could, that feels foreign to me.
it feels it very much
Yeah.
so, and it's very much like that's almost I wouldn't put that in the category of like anti-feminist. I put that in the category of like she comes from old country mentality in terms of her parents, of like this is what we do and this is like what we do for our community and that's how you show up and that is it. So, and that again has good things and bad things attached to it. But I mean, my mom in her own way, like, was also very much of like, she loved playing sports and like would always be mad if growing up, like she wasn't allowed to play on the boys' sports teams. And like, there were just shit like that. And she's a boss. She's a literal boss out there. And shout out to Holland Bloorview. But yeah, I don't know. Shout out to the Children's Hospital.
I just want to say something that I'm thinking is like another thing that I think the reason I became like this was the strongest like archetype in my life, for lack of better words, was my grandmother. But my grandmother was such an interesting character. She was a secular, for the most part, Jewish, but like not very religious. But she was married in Russia, lost one husband, had to fend for herself, got married again, second husband died, so then she had 3 kids now at this point to herself, moved the kids around, and like we knew these stories, and then was still like, you know, education was so important to her, reading was so important to her, and it was a very strong bond between me and her. And like I don't remember, like my grandfather was a step grandfather, so it, even though he was always there, it was like, you know, this is the boss of the house. Also
she
that's
runs
so interesting. All of us.
It's very much a like it was Judaism
sure.
big into matriarchal. But you know what's super interesting that I learned later in life? We're getting into family secrets now. But let's do it. So my bubby was very much like archetypal, loud-mouthed Jewish woman. She made chicken soup, she made brisket. She was so loud and so in everybody's face and so socially inappropriate. But like,
she sounds like me. I love her.
It's literally 100% part of who she was. But I found out kind of later in life that she converted. And that my grandfather, like her husband, was a Holocaust survivor and came over to Canada. And she was a small town girl from Nova Scotia. And like converted to Judaism.
East Coasters and Jews.
Some
similarities.
So much crossover. It's so true. A lot of community like based stuff. But yeah, so it was so interesting that like this like very typical example I had of like the Jewish bubby turned out to like, it was very much a Jewish bubby, but like didn't start out that way, which is super interesting.
That is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you get embedded in it for long enough, and it's quite contagious, that kind of like
totally
noise and community and food, and like who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
I live with my boy Shiksa, and he is starting to speak Hebrew. Like
my boy Shiksa.
I
like boy Shiksa.
That's like my girl Friday.
My boy Shiksa. Exactly.
Shiksa.
My boy Shiksa. Yeah.
Who are the other like Jewish women in your guys' life that you would say influence your comedy?
I think. Listen, I stand with Joan forever.
Yeah, what a great example.
Joan Rivers, and I think a lot of people are like get really tense when you say her name still. And no. I don't think people understand, like, you know, I think we remember her as this fashion police, like making women cry, friends with Trump person. And for me, I'm like, yes, that's a part of who she is, but she was like, had this one of the first like female hosts of late night. She had this amazing Johnny Carson set. Like, she persevered with so much tragedy in her life. On top of it, she like donated so much of her free time. She did so many things secretly. Like, she delivered Meals on Wheels every day in like her 80s and 90s till the day she died. She also she just, to me, and you know what? Sure, you can be offended by her jokes. They are well written. They are like,
she's the basis of Hacks. Like, she's
just
the lifeblood of old female comedy. Yeah.
So like, and you know, they talk about all these like edgy male comedians. Like, Joan was edgier than all of them because in many ways, like, she wrote a dark joke, but it wasn't always punching down. Like, and a lot of it was punching at herself. Yeah. And I truly I think she's iconic. I really do think I'm in my Joan Rivers phase right now. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Double high is the Joan Rivers phase.
you can be an imperfect feminist, right? Like, especially someone of her generation, while also, like, similar to what we were saying before, living feminist ideals, and influencing younger generations of feminists,
Yeah.
women.
Well, the big thing with Joan is she always fought for her place in the comedy world. Mm-hmm. And whatever we think of, like, how male dominated it is now, it was way more back then.
Yeah.
And
certainly.
her, and then obviously, like, I don't know how anyone doesn't love Sarah Silverman.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was
comedy.
gonna say, you can't, like, and people have their own, like, that has its whole other thing, because no female comedian can just be a comedian, and they have so much, like, gunk attached because of the world we live in. But, like, you can't throw away, like, she's so unbelievable. She is. And I still listen to her podcast to this day. It's so good. She's
so good. She's really, I think,
an icon.
A sincere, genuine, lovely person too. Listen,
Yeah.
it's parasocial relationships, but from what I
Totally.
can tell, she also, I feel, was successful and, like, at the height of her career at such a crucial fucking age for probably, like, all of us. Like, she was the person, like, when I was 10 to 17 and getting really into stand-up, she was the female Jewish comic.
Yeah.
That was killing it.
For sure. And I mean, her last special.
I loved
Like,
her last special.
It was
I loved
so.
it.
Wait, did
She
I miss
talks about-
one? Which is the most recent one?
There's a red backdrop.
What's it
There's a
called?
red
Hold on.
backdrop. I don't know, but she talks about,
check.
like, her dad go to summer camp and, like,
Yes. Okay. Yeah. This is incredible special. Holy crap.
and it's just like, people think of her as just a dirty comic. She is so eloquent. Every word is so intentional. There's a calmness when you watch her, and you're like, as the crazy person I am, I don't understand how she does it.
Yeah, she has a quiet confidence. You're right. Even though her jokes are extra, her energy is not.
No, and she has a very
it's-
sweet delivery. It's
Yeah,
like
she's
she'll say something
so-
crazy and then, like, have a little smile. It's
Yeah.
But
very
so restrained. It literally, to me, is elegance.
sweet. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she's dirty, but she's she's, like, literally, like, so poised and, like, it's so her, and it's so beautiful to watch, even though she's delivering the grossest thing you might ever
Grossest, yeah.
hear.
She also had an incredible way, like, just like on podcasts or anytime she was with, like, a group of, and not to be so fucking binary, but like, when she was with comics who were not women, she really had a way always of, like, maintaining her, like, fitting in and being able to hold her own, while also, like, maintaining her feminism, like, maintaining, like, you know what I mean, not being one of the boys while also being able to, like, hang out with men and hold her own,
And really throw her values away.
throw her values away, or like self-deprecate or talk shit about other people who are not men,
Which I find very difficult to do. Like, I truly, to this day, I find it so hard. Actually, you know what? Less so after the pandemic. I really, a piece of my brain shut off about giving a fuck.
Dude.
But it's hard. Yeah. It's hard not to want to be, like, one of the guys when you're in a green room, and then you have to kind of, like, check yourself.
Absolutely.
I think the easiest way to not do that is just be so unabashful about being yourself. I was in a green room with, like, 5 guys the other day, and I was like, which one of you is fixing my bra? And they're like, well, we don't want to. And I was like, you're all babies. It's a bra. What, you think my boob's gonna? I mean, this is not a sexual situation. I need you to fix my bra.
What the fuck did you do to your bra?
Yeah.
I was wearing a strapless. And I needed it to be tightened in the back.
Gotcha.
God, I
That's
can't
you.
do a strap.
And I think the thing is, I try to treat everyone the exact same way.
And that's awesome.
It's hard.
Truly, it takes practice. It's
does.
a genuine practice. And
Yeah.
to go back for, like, real quick to Sarah Silverman real fast, because she brought up something that I didn't notice about specifically Jewish women on television in comedy or in movies or in anything. She brought up that wonderful topic about how Jewish women are not playing Jewish women in movies, in
true.
television.
Yeah, it is true.
anywhere.
Do not.
Oh my
No,
god,
it is true.
And the fact about all of that, there is a certain amount of, like, desexualization that went, like, a Jewish woman who is Jewy and, like, Jewish has to, like, the only person on, and I granted I did really love Marvelous Miss Maisel, like, in season 1. It was fine. It was
No,
fine.
but same. Agree, but same.
We all feel that way.
The only woman who is Jewish on that show is Alex Bornstein.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The
and she is
non-sexual-
void
Yeah.
of like, void of desire, void
Yeah.
of, she's the like, wah, 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 and like,
Totally.
that's her whole role on the show. And when we talk about like any Jewish woman, like Joan Rivers, RBG, like all these different roles, like in order for the woman to be almost palatable
Yeah.
to Hollywood, to television, she has to be somehow void of her Jewishness, which is, yeah, Sarah Silverman put beautifully.
I just want to say that when I found out who, I don't know what her name is, the girl that plays Miss Maisel, was not Jewish, I was
Oh my
actually
God.
offended.
Oh,
And
truly.
And I was offended because I'm like, oh, why is it okay for someone to act Jewish? And I get it's a role, but it was like, but
in
now
that
it's like,
show, they're hamming it
That's
up.
the thing.
They're
It's a
doing
caricature of
hammy
Yeah.
Jew. They're doing a hammy Jew, which again, if someone like Sarah Silverman or like an actual like Jewish woman was playing, there would be some sort of degree of nuance, and there is not really when they're depicting it.
But my thing is like, there's a lot of talk of like, what's appropriate for people to play and not to play.
Yeah.
But somehow it's fine for someone to take all my essence
A Protestant to like
and make it a caricature, and like it's fine, and I don't think it is fine, and I get that show has a lot of Jewish writers. I know that. However, you couldn't have found a Jewish actress to play that role.
That's the thing. And like, you're right, Rachel. It's whenever any character that has to be like sexual or considered beautiful, even though there's fucking gorgeous Jewish actresses, are very, very rarely played by Jewish women. Is it the
100%.
exact same thing as like, we're still white, but it's
Yes.
a bummer. It's a bummer, and it's just an inaccurate portrayal. And also, I can tell. This isn't necessarily like super fair, but I can often tell when someone's not Jewish. Like, there's just like a certain vibe, essence, something.
Yeah,
And
not
it would be
always, not
cool.
everywhere, of course,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like there's
And
something
listen,
also.
converts to
sorry,
Judaism
go, yeah.
are still legitimate Jews. Not all Jews
Yes.
are white, for sure. But if you grew up Jewish or you converted, even that, you have a much deeper understanding of the like nuance of Judaism.
I will also say real quick, we can't let this conversation slip by without talking about the fact that Bradley Cooper is putting on a fake nose to play Leonard Bernstein. Straight up. Like, Bradley Cooper is going to play the famous Jew Leonard Bernstein in the cinema, and he is wearing a prosthetic nose. That's all. Just want to put that there. Then,
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
like,
Natalie, go.
I don't like that stuff, that shit. I don't like it. It's like, it just all doesn't sit well with me. But
No.
to your point of Jewish being sexy, I think in my
Yes,
comedy,
please.
I think though I'm so Jewish, I think I'm quite sexy.
Oh,
And
100%. You have like a vivacious energy very much. It's very
I
like,
like to, yeah,
like
and I
it's
think,
very much like, are you going to fuck me or what? Like, yeah.
But I think it's important that like, they may not see it, but believe me, people like it. They like the Jewishness. They think it's appealing. They also like, it's fun. And like, we don't need to, whenever we create a character, we don't need to take away from, the background and the essence and dumb it down or ham it up. We just need people to be themselves.
Oh,
Yep.
for sure. I am so attracted to extraness. Like, I would say my type is somebody where when they leave the room, everyone has something to say about them, good or bad. I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as they're
Oh.
being talked about, that's my type.
God.
Well,
so
I'll say my
true.
favorite lover.
I was gonna say, well, you have the lovers to speak for it. I mean, that list of lovers goes down and down.
My favorite lover that is happens to be Jewish, and one of the parts about it, like, I love his Jewishness, and he is like, he may not think he's Jewish like that Jewish, but I'm like, he's pretty extra, and it's quite fun.
Yeah. There is an unabashedness that goes along with, historically with Judaism, that I think is especially in comedy, it's hot. It's freaking hot to be so like,
Praise your Jewish
your
female
face.
comedians because they're the sexiest comedians.
they're
I said
so
it.
hot. Have sex with a female comedian by the end of this.
Guys,
Tonight.
I truly couldn't think of a better note to end on. So,
Excellent.
thank you both so much. I had such a blast chatting with you guys.
so
You
fun.
made it
So much fun.
Such a delight. I love hanging with you Maedalas.
I love hanging with you, Maedalas. Okay, Natalie, let's get
love
back
it.
to our lovers.
Gotta get back to your
Rachel,
lovers.
Natalie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me, Laura.
Bye, guys.